Yeah, y'all gonna stop coming in my live talking about this Victor dude, bro. We hooping this year. Y'all gonna see.
Alright, team, today we're going to be going over the Christmas game, the Spurs versus the Knicks. It was a heartbreaking loss. I was watching this with my family, and I'm not going to lie, we were all crashing out. Now, if you notice a couple things different with the setup, for Christmas, I did get some things to upgrade the setup, so if you see some quality differences, be sure to leave a like. We got the green screen hooked up. I don't think it's a permanent thing. I just got to move some posters around in the background because, as you can see, the camera is in a new spot. But if you like this, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I might consider keeping it. But diving into the game a little bit, I think the Spurs got out hustled. I think the Knicks wanted it more. Aside from Wemby, Sohan, Chris Paul had a pretty good game, solid. I don't know if I'm forgetting someone, but Harrison Barnes had a bad game. Devin Vassell had a bad game. Champagnie, not bad, 3 for 7 from 3. Castle, only 16 minutes, but I think we saw some good things from him, although he did shoot 28%. He had the nice dunk on Jalen Brunson. Keldon Johnson had 5 points. The rotation was very short. There was no backup center minutes. Whenever Wemby subbed out, there was Jeremy Sohan running backup center for him. And I think that's a very big hole in the team right now. We need a backup big man because our big men right now are just getting played out of the rotation. And Wemby can't play 40 minutes every game like he did yesterday. Although the rebound difference wasn't crazy, we lost the game because of rebounding. In the last possession, the Knicks missed like 2 or 3 shots and they got their offensive rebound, and that just ended the game. I don't know if these stats are real because it felt like we were getting no rebounds at all, although Wemby did have about 18. He had 42 and 18. A monster game from Wemby. 4 assists, 4 blocks, and I didn't expect anything less from Wemby. It's kind of becoming normal to us to see Wemby have these monster performances. Now, what I really want to talk about is Devin Vassell, because he has been struggling, and although I'm not gonna poop on him like everybody else on Twitter, I will admit this stretch has been very rough. I don't want to trade Devin Vassell. I still think he is a core piece to this team. But when you have performances like this on Christmas Day, only scoring 11, 4 for 11 shooting, 25% from 3, he just lacks the aggressiveness at times. And although I understand he's a team player and he likes to not interrupt the offense, which I respect about Devin Vassell, he has to realize that he's one of the best players on this team. Some of these games are going to have to take initiative. You cannot have Jeremy Sohan outscoring you, dropping 21. Now, Jeremy Sohan is a monster. I'm going to say that. He even shot 3 for 3 from 3-point range yesterday. He had a crazy performance. He was everywhere, playing his best defense and contributing on the offensive end. But Devin Vassell, we need more out of you, and he has come back from injury. It hasn't been a consistent season for him, so I'll give him that, but he has to stay healthy as well. We just got to see more out of Devin Vassell. And I'm expecting big things out of him, but this game was just very bad, and he's been on a rough stretch, so that's going to be something to watch. Other than that, I mean, I don't really have too many things. I think the Spurs could have won this game if they played with a little bit more dog, just a little bit more aggression, and I think they scrape away with this win if they play a little harder. But being a young team, these are some type of L's you're going to have to take to learn from them, and in the future, I think they will get it down. This isn't nothing crazy where you have to look at the character of the team and question whether you blow it up. I think this is just a young team's mistake, and we saw some mistakes like this in the 76er game, but we move on. We're 500, and that's pretty good if you ask me. 15 and 15. Next game we play the Nets, so we should be looking to get a win, get back in the win column. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into some interviews. We're not going to watch entire interviews because we have 3 different people that we have to hear talk. Starting it off, we're going to go ahead and hear what Josh Hart has to say. But before we get into the interview, I don't know if y'all saw this. I definitely did. And Josh Hart tweeted, "Spurs equal poop, poop, poop." Now, he was talking about the soccer team, I believe. He said that in an interview, but you know what he was doing whenever he tweeted this with no context. So he was kind of trolling right there, which I can respect because we also have a fellow troll in Jeremy Sohan, so I can respect his little trash talk. But let's see what he has to say about the Spurs. Well, actually, in this video specific, shout out to New York Knicks videos, he's talking about Victor Wembanyama. Now, if I was the Knicks, I would be a little scared because this is not the first time he's given them 40. He also gave them a 40 and 20 game last season where he threw Jalen Brunson's ball into the stands. So I don't know if Victor Wembanyama hates the Knicks after they called him overrated in their first matchup, but let's see what he has to say.
And I think the other day you give Wemby his flowers after you played him out.
Yeah, good lord. He's different. You know, the league would be in good hands. When all the old guys, when they're done and they hang it up, Bron, KD, Steph, all them older statesmen, where they all 40 damn near, feels like it. Once they leave, man, the league will be in good hands with him and other guys I can't think much, but he's different.
So basically, he was just showing Wemby some respect after getting 40 dropped on him. We didn't get the win, but it's obvious these guys in New York respect Victor Wembanyama. I believe it was on their podcast. I don't know what exactly their podcast is called, but they were talking about the first 40-point game from Wemby, and Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart said that whenever he's making shots, there's really nothing you can do, and that's just facts because you're not going to block it, and if you could get a good contest, I mean, that's all you can do, but great players are going to hit tough shots, and that's what Wemby does. This game, he was just pulling up from the logo. I don't know how many times he did it. He was definitely shooting, and I've gotten to the point where I've just accepted he's shooting those threes, and I want him to take them now because he's hitting it. He's shown that he can shoot effectively, and I think him being so tall just extends his range because he can get under the ball a little bit more. He's really become a threat once he passes half court, and that just opens up his game to another level. So with this video, he's basically saying that Wemby is on his way to being the face of the league once these guys are done, which I think is accurate. So respect to Josh Hart, and he's a ball knower, and we might have to get him on Spurs Spotlight for the one time. On to Chris Paul. I saw this clip already, I'm not gonna lie, and he was just trying to hold the guys accountable, and this is what you like to see from a veteran like Chris Paul in a game like this where they got out hustled, where they let the other team be more physical. I want to show y'all guys this video, so let's go ahead and hop straight to it. Alright, so I pulled it up on YouTube. The quality should be a little better, but the question being asked is how do they handle the hostility. I believe Michael C. Wright is asking the question, and he asks about the past two games with the coming down to the wire, the 76ers game where Champagnie turns the ball over, and now this game where they can't get a rebound to get a shot and tie the game. So let's see what CP has to say.
How do you feel like, I guess, the younger guys are sort of developing on that front? You played 2 games in a row in really hostile environment, tight game.
Guys are great, and I think we're just gonna get to that point where all that young guy stuff got to go out the window. We pros just like everybody else, and there's a grit and a will that you got to have in this league in order to figure out ways to win those games. And especially on the road. Especially on the road when we're the only ones that's cheering for us or whatnot, and that builds character. So we got 2 games, I think, left on this trip, and we got to make sure we approach them with the proper fear.
And that's exactly right. With Chris Paul, this is the veteran leadership that we've been needing. And although the guys are young, I like that Chris Paul is holding them to an equal standard as everyone else. He said we're pros like everyone else is pros. And that's right. We also have players like Keldon Johnson, who's the longest tenured Spur. I think this is like year 6 or 7 for him. So some of these players just got to lock in. And Chris Paul is going to ensure that he's not letting anything slide anymore. He knows what the team is capable of. He always calls them talented. He knows their talent level, and he knows what they can be, and that is very impressive because Chris Paul has been in the league for a long time, and so he knows talent whenever he sees one. So for him to say this about the young Spurs, him holding them to a high standard, is not just him trying to be mean about things. I don't know how else to put it without cursing, but he's just trying to hold them to their standard. He's trying to hold them to their potential and bring out the best in them. So this is what you like to see from your vet, and I think the guys are going to respond well to this. They're known to have very good character, and so they know it's not about how he says things, it's about what he's really saying. And so whenever they're trying to understand what he's saying, I think they're just going to buy into Chris Paul's mentality, and they'll get it right eventually. And last but not least, we got the glorious king, Victor Wembanyama. Shout out to Legion Hoops for the post. Victor Wembanyama on today's loss to the Knicks on Christmas Day. They didn't win against us because they played better basketball. Not at all. Now, this is kind of what I mentioned. They didn't lose because the Knicks were the better team today. If anything, I think they played on par with the Knicks, if anything. Now, granted, the Knicks are a more experienced and overall better team at this point, but he's speaking on the game today. They weren't better than the Spurs today. It just came down to who wanted it more, and it turns out that the Knicks wanted it more today. But let's see what Wemby got to say.
I don't think it was a game about momentum. I think it was a game about, being dogs,
Yeah.
when the clock starts going down, under 5 minutes, under 3 minutes. We let them get some rebounds on us. We let them move us a little too much. So this is more what it was about. They didn't win against us because they played better basketball. Not at all.
Now that's facts. I've seen some New York Knicks fans actually getting upset at this. And if somebody else said that about the Spurs, I would be like, yeah, you lost. What do you mean you didn't play better basketball? So I get what they're saying, but he's mentioning the physicality part. He's mentioning that they got out hustled. They didn't lose because they didn't hit their shots or things like that. It just came down to hustling and physicality. So Wemby hit it right on the nail. Another thing, what he mentioned about being dogs is, I know Wemby has that dog mentality. It just has to do with spilling onto the others as well as Wemby, because after the 3-point shot that got overturned with the Karl Anthony Towns push, we didn't see much of Wemby from there on. I think that was his last bucket, which it didn't even count. That would have had him at 45, but he ended with 42. Just the late game execution has been a struggle with the Spurs. When it gets down to that nitty gritty, I want to see the Spurs execute more plays for Wemby. Now, it's kind of hard because he has 42, so they're going to send doubles, and you need some other players to step up. That's where Devin Vassell comes in. Chris Paul will hit a clutch shot here and there. I know he hit a shot to bring it down to 3. I just want to see some better late game execution and not have Wemby get canceled out, especially when he has 42. So yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Y'all leave y'all's comments down below. What did y'all think about this game? What was y'all's frustrations? Are y'all frustrated with Devin Vassell? I think he's going to get back to where he can be, but it's going to be a little while until you can get out this cold stretch. But as always, y'all be sure to leave a like, subscribe to Spurs Spotlight. Let me know if y'all like the setup so far, and until then, I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.